Good morning, Eastside families. It's so great to be with you here again this morning. Welcome to my channel. Been waiting to say that. Today is NTI Day 22. It's Tuesday, and we're rolling right along. It was nice to talk to a couple of you yesterday and some of your families. If there's anything you need, please feel free to contact any one of the teachers. There's someone at the school all day long if you need to call. But I hope everything's going well. And I hope we're getting the work done on these packets. So I'm looking today at the checklist, and I can see that in reading you're going to be completing a story map that goes along with the story we read yesterday. Math, you will be doing another Common Core review, and then working more on patterns and number rules. So working on that, some practice with that. There are some extra videos to watch to go along with that. I suggest that you do that. They are helpful. They reinforce. They might say things in a different way that make you understand them just a little bit better. Science, reading about traits. And there's also a YouTube video that goes along with that. A great art project. You get a little bit of choice on which one you do. Take your time, pick a good one. And you know what would be really fun is if you took a picture of whatever you made and uploaded it on our 4th grade page. We'd love to see what you're working on. Take your time. Enjoy it. So, story maps. Story maps. There's a sample. This is a sample. This is just for you to look at and use to help complete the next one. But when we're looking at narrative writing or fictional writing, narrative writing is not necessarily fictional, but narrative writing, it is organized in a certain way. And that organization is by identifying and setting up the setting, who the characters are, and the plot. These literary elements help guide us through the story. The more we understand about the setting, it helps give us a deeper understanding of what's going on in the story. It does matter in a story which season it is. It does matter what time period it is. It does matter if it's what the weather is, perhaps, because those factor into the events that go on in the story as well. Time, place, anything you can add to it, which will add to developing the mood and the theme and things that are going on. The characters. Typically, you want to focus on the main characters, the key characters in the story. We often have minor characters that are there, but if they don't have a great influence on the plot, we don't need to focus on them as much. They're important sometimes because sometimes they help guide the main character a little bit, or you can see how the main character interacts with those minor characters, and that helps you to understand the story more. Getting to know those characters will help you enjoy the story even more. Do you like the character? Can you relate to the character? Is your brain turning into that character as you're reading? That's what's fun about reading as well. Now, the greatest part of your story map today is the plot. Remembering that the plot is the events that occur in the story. A narrative story is organized differently than an informational piece. In a narrative, you're focusing on what happens in the beginning, in the middle, and then in the end. And typically the beginning gets you all set up with what's going on, who's in the story, why is it why is things happening, why are things happening the way they are. The middle, we haven't had any great pals, any big turnarounds. We haven't hit the climax or that turning point yet, but the suspense is building a little bit. And that's where it's really holding you in a little bit and keeping the story going. A good story will keep you moving so that you don't lose interest. And then the end is typically your resolution. After the climax hits and then the characters are finding a way to have everything fixed and settled, and the story can have some closure and an ending. So take your time, think about where it's taking place. And in this story, why is it taking place there? I wonder. What has happened with our characters that has us in that location? Weather makes a difference. In this story, talking about spiders, certain climates can have things that other climates can't. So keep that in mind. Okay, today I'd also like to include reading along with you the science piece. So I'll give you a second to turn to that page. It has a number 8 at the bottom. It says Chapter 2 Life Cycles. And this one is titled Traits. So go ahead and get there so that we can read it together and talk about that a moment. Traits. Organisms reproduce or make more living things of their own kind. People often have traits that are like those of their parents or other family members. A trait is a characteristic that makes one organism different from another. People have thousands of traits that make them who they are. Children look more like their parents, sisters, and brothers, and other relatives than like people in other families. That's because people have traits that were passed along from their parents through heredity. Heredity is the process by which traits are passed from parents to their offspring, their children. The basic unit of heredity is called a gene. Genes inside the cells of living things have information about how the living things will grow and develop. All humans have the same numbers and kinds of genes. However, the information on the genes is not the same. You get genes from your parents during the process of reproduction. Half of your genes come from your mother and the other half from your father. When you were born, you had the same set of genes you have now. You have them your entire life. Some traits, such as a person's natural hair color, are determined by heredity alone. Some traits come from several genes. One of these is eye color. People have blue, brown, green, hazel, or gray eyes. That is because there are many possible gene combinations for eye color. Many inherited traits may be influenced by an organism's surroundings and upbringing. For example, genes carry information for the height you could be as an adult. If you eat well and take care of your body, it will be able to grow as tall as possible. So your height is a trait that can be affected by your behavior. Some interesting stuff. Definitely a topic that would be fun to find more things about, or for you to compare some of your traits with your parents. But also remember that you could be picking up things from people around you, different mannerisms. Even if you're not a biological child, you can still pick up things from your parents to make that connection with you. Today you have an open response question along with your multiple choice questions. And it says, hint, recall what inherited traits are. If you've already forgotten, get back in that passage and find it again and reread it. Although some traits are affected only by genes, most traits develop through a combination of heredity and environmental influence. 3 parts here. We will look for that ABC. A, in the chart on the next page, lists 6 traits children inherit from their parents. B, choose one trait from your chart and tell why it is not affected by one's behavior or surroundings. C, choose another trait from your chart and tell how it is affected by one's behavior or surroundings. I do recall reading about that in that short passage. And if you've forgotten, what do? Get back in there and reread it. Okay, looks like we're here at the end. Some great art ideas. Love to see what you're working on. As we're all working at home and working our best at keeping our focus on, it's not just hard for you to work on these packets when there's so much going on around us. I'm distracted because I want to go dig in the dirt or get out my book because I'm under 50 pages from the end. And it's hard to be it's called being disciplined, to take your time and make sure, okay, I have to keep my focus on. So maybe set yourself up a little bit of a reward system. All right, okay, so I'm going to finish my reading section, and then I'm going to give myself the same amount of time that it took me to do that reading section to play a video game, or to get out my book and read, or to watch a TV show, and then do another section. Okay, it's okay to give yourself little rewards. Every once in a while, I would do that for myself. Okay, if I get my dishes done, I can go in and sit and read. Okay, I can justify the downtime for myself at home. And that's okay. We all have to do that. That's not a kid thing. It's not a student thing. It's a people thing. So take your time. Put your effort there. I miss seeing you. I did stop in the school yesterday and thought of each one of you. So now I'm thinking about you, miss you, and look forward to seeing you and talking to you again. Hope you have a great day. See you soon.